Hey, Robert, how you doing?
Great, Eddie. How are you?
Good, good, good. Well, thanks for coming on and taking the time to sit down and have a conversation with me and, talk about fun stuff like insurance.
Absolutely. Yeah. Excited to be here and always willing to talk about insurance.
I was making a joke about
Yep.
that. Yeah. I was thinking through like, all right, how am I going to make this sound fun and that kind of thing? Because, it's insurance, right? But
Well, let's try to make it exciting.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, hey, talk to me about how long you've been in business, where you out of and that kind of thing. So maybe even like, how'd you get into insurance?
Yeah. Great questions. So, my name's Robert Jones. I'm with Bearing Insurance. I've been in the business now 26 years.
Whoa.
I kind of stumbled into it. I'm from Danville, Virginia.
Okay.
And I was in the tobacco business for 10 years, which I got a lot of good stories about that, but just kind of was looking for a career change and stumbled into an insurance agency's office and was offered a position and been doing it ever since with a different agency. I've been with the current agency I'm with now for the past 20 years.
Okay.
We're Bearing Insurance. We're out of, my office is out of Danville, Virginia. We've had several iterations of our agency due to acquisitions and sales and name change, but essentially been with the same agency. We have a great team that works with us. And really at this stage of my career, I'm, focused on helping my clients and educating my clients and help them having a good experience and understand these complicated products that we're selling in insurance. When I look back and people are talking about purchasing insurance, they're always wanting the cheapest or the lowest price. But when something happens, we're one of the first people that they're reaching out to. And you want to be able to tell them, yes, you do have this coverage and you elected to buy it you determine the value of it at that time. Yeah.
So, well, let's provide some clarity on the type of insurance that you are currently offering. So we're not talking about what do they call that? Property and P&C insurance, the property and casualty. So we're not talking casualty. We're not talking about that, right? We're talking about insurance like commercial for contractors, more specifically.
Yeah.
Right?
So I really call it commercial property and casualty for contractors.
Okay. So that's the technical name. That's what the industry standard is. That's how they call it. Okay. Gotcha.
Our agency, we do personal lines, home and auto and stuff like that. I personally specialize in commercial property and casualty.
Okay. Gotcha. So throughout your entire career, when you started, did you start out in the same type of capacity or did you kind of evolve into?
That's a great question. So when I first started, yes, I was doing insuring homes, auto, and just kind of over time kind of gravitated towards the commercial space and really trying to understand how to work with my business owners and in particular contractors. How can we save them money? How can we protect their business? Yeah. Ultimately, that's what an insurance product is. You're transferring risk over to the insurance company. Yep. And we really work to advise and consult with them. One, just to make sure their business is protected, but also by doing some of certain things, you can save money on your insurance premium. Yeah. So trying to educate our clients on the things that you can do to obtain the best insurance rates.
Okay. Well, man, why is it so expensive?
Well, stuff happens. I can tell you that. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Someone will say, it will never happen to me, right. or what could happen. Yeah. And we can sit here all day and talk about things that I've seen, and then look at something and say, well, we never thought that would happen. Stuff that you can't even imagine happens all the time, and that's what insurance is there for. And like I said, when things happen, there's property damage or bodily injury, I'm always getting the call, hey, something happened. We want to make sure it's covered. Yeah. And so I think sometimes that gets kind of lost in the shuffle during when people are, purchasing their insurance. Yeah. We want the cheapest. Well, the cheapest doesn't always mean that it's got the best coverage. Yeah. So we're trying to provide a happy medium there.
So, all right. So let's talk about the type. I mean, this is our actual certificate of liability insurance that I have here. I printed out, and you're our agent. And so we know a lot of times we'll get asked from our homeowners, hey, can you provide proof of insurance? So we print this out, or we send it to maybe electronically, or we print it out and hand it to them, right? So I just have kind of a hunch that most people will look at this and they go, I don't even really know what I'm looking for. I see commercial general liability, and it's got an X in a box that says occur, and then there's another aggregate limit applies for, and then there's a few boxes that are checked there. There's automobile liability. There's some boxes checked there. Umbrella liability, a box checked there. And then it says workers' compensation and employers' liability, and it has the letter N for no. So then to me, that looks like, yep, they don't have workers' compensation. But then there's a policy number, so that can look a little confusing. So maybe you can look at this and kind of dissect it, maybe explain it a little bit better. And then also while you're doing that, if a homeowner just sees that piece of paper, does it really mean that they're absolutely covered? Or is there something else beyond just looking at the piece of paper that as a homeowner that they have a right to do? Like, can they call the office to verify? Can they email? What other measures would you suggest a homeowner do?
Okay. Yeah. So I think in the insurance business, we specialize in complicated. So this piece of paper is complicated, and so it's a good thing for them to ask for it. It does verify that there's insurance in place, but what are they looking at?
Right. Yeah.
So that's one part. I think most homeowners would have homeowners insurance. If you're not familiar with this document, it might be a good idea to send it to whoever your agent is and have them take a look at it and see if it's a policy with a reputable company, if these are good limits.
Okay.
I kind of chuckle sometimes when I ride around and I see, on a van, fully licensed and insured. Well, what does fully insured mean?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like
versus partially.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't even know what fully insured in my eyes means everything's covered. And I can tell you, really, there's no insurance policy out there where someone is fully insured.
Everything.
So I laugh at that, but just kind of looking at this, and I'm going to have to put on my glasses for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
So, when you look at this, one of the first things you see is that it names the insurance company. It's with a company right there. And then over here on the limits, commercial general liability.
Yep.
And what that is if a contractor, in your case, 5-Star Roofing and Restoration, causes property damage or bodily injury to others.
Okay.
All right. Then there would be coverage for them up to $1 million.
Okay.
Now, what it does not do, it does not cover your work. Your work, meaning the roofing work, is not covered.
So the quality of the install has nothing to do with that.
This is causing property damage or bodily injury to others.
Okay.
Is what that is.
Sorry about the
no worries.
The headset catches you.
So just think in the roofing business, if the roof is left open, I believe you refer it. Sometimes it's got to be open.
I mean, you're tearing off the old roof, right? So now you've got just the wood deck, and then sometimes we'll have rotten wood, and then we need to, cut it open and replace it, right? So, that potentially, could open up a can of worms if there's a rain cloud that comes and forecast says 0% chance of rain.
It comes, and it's happened, and can rain and do a lot of damage to the interior. That's where a policy like this would kick in and take care of the property damage that those owners.
So that falls under the general liability part of it.
That does.
Okay.
So auto liability limit. A contractor's driving on your property, and so if they happen to hit something on your property, hit someone, the auto liability policy would take care of that. So it shows that you have that coverage as well.
Run over a mailbox or something. They hit a tree and it happens to fall and smashes the house. I mean, not likely to happen, but
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And then it shows umbrella liability. Umbrella liability is additional liability.
Okay.
So, your contractors can carry different limits of liability. In this case, y'all are carrying $1 million worth of general liability, and you've purchased excess liability or umbrella liability. It covers over just the $1 million.
Okay.
So, we're in a very litigious world where things happen. So an umbrella policy is a good thing for a business owner or contractor to carry. Certainly.
Okay. So in the same way that a homeowner has like a deductible that's linked to the policy that they purchased for their home, and that amount varies. Some people have $1,000 deductible. Some people have $5,000. I mean, I've seen them as high as $10,000 or a percentage of their the home value. Is there a deductible that is also linked to these types of policies?
It can be.
Okay.
So but typically not for general liability,
Okay.
but that certainly can be.
Okay.
So it just really just depends on the policy.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
just like a homeowner's policy, there can be different limits of deductibles, and I think from a consumer, it's just important that you understand what those are.
Okay.
So in case of a general liability, if there was a deductible in place, that would be your deductible, not the homeowners. So one other thing on the certificate that this shows, it does show that you mentioned workers' compensation.
Yeah.
It had something checked.
It said that has the letter N for no. Yeah.
So no in this case is actually it is a good thing. Owners or officers can be excluded. In this case, they're not. So that basically means if you are the owner or out on the property and working a job, you're injured, you do have workers' compensation.
Okay.
So you do have the option to elect to be covered or not covered as an owner. And most of the time, my suggestion is if you're actively involved in the business as an owner, is to be covered. But some people do elect not to be covered.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's what that's indicating.
Okay, so if us as owners aren't actually out on the job site doing a lot of the physical work, then there's really no point in having it on us. Is that what you're saying?
No, I actually would say that you probably should. Your exposure is probably a little bit more limited because you're in the office.
Yeah.
But if you're active in your business, your day-to-day business, a workers' comp provides great benefits, lifetime medical.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you're in the office, unlikely that you're injured, but things do happen. Like I said, I've seen stranger things happen. So it doesn't mean that all clients take my recommendations, but that's what I would suggest doing.
So is that beneficial to a homeowner that a company has workers' comp?
I think just in general having workers' comp, absolutely, yes. I mean, there's no way I would allow anyone on my property without workers' compensation.
Okay.
I just think there's a whole lot of things that can happen, that can go wrong. Just think about someone falling off a roof. If there's no workers' compensation, the people are injured and they have medical bills. It's likely they don't have health insurance. They're going to look for somebody to pay.
Okay.
You don't, as a homeowner, you don't want that to be you. You want to make sure that the people you're dealing with have workers' compensation so that you're not responsible for medical bills.
So somebody falls off the roof, they're paralyzed for the rest of their life, and the contractor is not properly insured. Like, what's the worst case scenario? Because they're probably going to hire, one of those, accident attorneys that you see on TV all the time, right?
Yep.
And, they advertise that they win big money, right? So who pays that?
They're going to come at somebody to pay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not a lawyer. Can't give legal advice.
Sure.
Can't really speak to what would happen in that case. But if just take it. If the contractor doesn't have workers' compensation, the employee doesn't have anything, and the homeowner who hired the contractor has homeowners insurance, I got to believe that that's where it's going to go.
Okay. So an attorney could go that route for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I can't say if they're going to be successful or not. That probably depends on the laws of the state.
Okay.
But certainly, as a homeowner, and I'm having people on my property doing risky things, I want their insurance to take care of us.
Right.
I don't want to have to depend on my insurance. So
right.
This is part, ask for a certificate of insurance.
Yep.
They should be able to provide it.
Yep.
These documents, I deal with them every day. you're probably not going to know what they're talking about. Send them to whoever writes your homeowner. Say, hey, we're going to do some work.
Yeah.
And this is what they provided me. Does this look okay? Any suggestions?
Yeah.
And kind of get some buy-in from them.
Yeah. So homeowner can call just to verify that it is in fact an active policy and no problems with that at all.
They can, yes. So this, in this case, this certificate came from our agency,
right?
And you would be providing it to potentially one of your customers, and they could call us. I mean, this is a piece of paper,
right?
So, I mean, I've seen them where contractors have manipulated them. So, I mean, it's not a bad idea to be a little bit cautious and just follow up. But certainly, if they're not able to provide insurance, you should probably question, maybe they have the lowest price.
Right. Yeah, we run into that a lot.
So they have the lowest price. Well, if they're putting you at risk by not carrying the proper insurance, to try to save some money, it's likely that they're doing that on their work.
Yeah.
So it's probably not the best fit.
Yeah.
Now, again, you have to make that determination yourself.
Sure. So sounds like it's potential that they could be using a lower quality crew, possibly as well, if they're not properly insured, then that don't really care about safety standards and that kind of thing, and more prone to an accident happening. So
I think if you're dealing with someone that does not have insurance, doesn't have proper types of insurance, you're safe to assume that they're taking shortcuts.
Yeah,
and shortcuts could maybe it's not an insurance claim, but maybe the quality of their work suffers, and you're with a roof that's just not done properly, and you're dealing with someone that's taking a lot of shortcuts.
Yeah.
So my take would be, they're good just like in every business. I think they're good businesses and bad businesses.
That's
just
right.
make sure, this is kind of one of the checks that you can do. If you're a prudent business owner, we'd like to see a certificate of your insurance, and we may make it's like a reference.
Yeah.
We may call your current agent, make sure that this is up to date. We may call our agent and have them inspect it, and I just think it just protects you. Make sure that you're dealing with a reputable business.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody likes stories. Talk about a situation, maybe a story that maybe personally happened with you, one of your clients that was not properly insured, and like what was the outcome?
Yeah. So talk about a couple of things that I've seen. One involves, since y'all in the roofing business, I try to take a roofing example.
Okay.
But, a contractor was hired to do roofing. They left the roof uncovered, just like you were talking about. There's no chance of rain. Rain came.
Yep. And then a monsoon. Yep.
Did a lot of damage to the inside of the house. There was really no way to know it on this piece of paper. Yeah. But they had an exclusion for the roof being open at the time. So, the homeowner had the property damage. They filed an insurance claim. The insurance company, within their rights, declined the claim because they had this exclusion. So now the homeowner is forced to file a claim on their homeowner's insurance, which they can do, and then the homeowner's insurance can pay it and go after the contractor via subrogation. But if the contractor didn't have any insurance, that may be very, very hard to collect.
Sure.
So there are all kinds of pitfalls within the insurance program. So again, just like you want to be dealing with a good, reputable contractor, you want your contractor to be dealing with good, reputable insurance agents and companies.
Yeah, yeah.
And another example we had, think of a commercial building. Commercial building had electrical work done. The contractor had insurance, but the subcontractor that they hired did not have insurance. The building burned down due to some electrical wiring issues. The contractor, the general contractor, had a subcontractor exclusion, which can be typical for contractors that don't practice proper risk transfer with their contracts. they can place that exclusion on there. So it's essentially no coverage. So they might have received a quote that was, significantly less in premium than anything else, but it's basically a worthless piece of paper because they're hiring subcontractors and they got a subcontractor exclusion on their policy.
Which basically says, hey, if you use a subcontractor, if anything goes wrong, we're not on the hook.
We're not. So,
wow.
And
there's no way by seeing this piece of paper that you're going to know that.
Well, again, talking back to asking your agent that you deal with, one of the things that I might ask is, hey, make sure there's not a subcontractor exclusion. Yeah. Make sure there's not an open roof exclusion on there, or list all your exclusions on there. Again, at some point in time, there's a trust factor you have to have.
Yeah, right.
And making sure you're dealing with the right contractor who's typically going to be dealing with the right insurance agent that knows these things.
Yep. Wow.
So there are a lot of pitfalls. I mean, just seeing it, we were talking before we came on, about things that have seen happen. And, we try to predict these things. As soon as we try to predict them, something you never seen happen comes out of left field, and that's what happened.
Yep. Yeah.
So
that's why you got insurance. You never know.
It's a challenging and interesting business. And, that's really what I'm focused on, is trying to make sure my clients are protected.
Yeah.
In these cases, they're out working. They're trying to build up businesses based off trust. And when something goes wrong, we want the policies to respond how they think they're going to respond.
Right. Yeah. So you make sure that those exclusions that they shouldn't have, like, do we have an exclusion for an open roof?
No.
Okay. That's good.
Those things, we're negotiating these things.
Right.
On your behalf, and we see them when they come through, and sometimes we have to push back, and sometimes there's, we mentioned the subcontractor exclusions. A lot of people hire subcontractors, and the insurance companies want to know you as the contractor that hires a sub have the proper risk transfer in place.
Yeah,
and that means via contract. So we want to see your contract. How, when you're hiring a subcontractor, what kind of requirements do you have?
Right.
And, I make a lot of recommendations. Hey, you should change this, and that provides proper risk transfer. That's going to allow this subcontractor exclusion not to be on your policy.
Right.
And it's going to allow us to negotiate more favorable rates on your behalf.
Yeah, I know we have a contract that we have in place with, I think you might have provided one, or template of some sort. I don't remember the extent of it. I don't handle that side of the business, my wife does that, but I know we have something in writing with all of our subcontractors, for the purpose that you're just talking about. Yeah.
And the insurance companies want to see that. Again, they in exchange for the premiums that you pay them, you're transferring the risk over to them.
Yeah.
So part of them knowing and understanding that is knowing what that contract looks like, so that something happens. They know that they can go to the subcontractor and get them to respond, and that's the purpose. You have transferred risk to somebody else.
Yeah, I think a lot of our customers probably don't even know that. When we go to verify our subcontractor's insurance policy as well, that it is an active policy, because when we go to pay a subcontractor, if they don't have a policy in force, then we can be penalized pretty significantly, right? So we have audits every year. So maybe talk through, like, what's the purpose? Like, what are you guys looking for whenever you're auditing a contractor, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, so every year there's an audit at the end of your policy, and if you had hired subcontractors that were not insured, the insurance company will bill you for the charges that you collected for them. So you're in essence, if they didn't have insurance, you're in essence paying for it.
Yep.
So that's what an audit does. They at the end of the policy year, they ask for certain records, which it is your responsibility to provide to the insurance companies, and they come through that. So your subcontractors, in order to prove that they have coverage, you have to provide one of these certificates of insurance. So for any that you don't have, boom, there's an extra charge, and it can be very significant in a lot of cases.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I've heard some. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that goes around our industry, and I think I heard someone went through an audit. They thought their subcontractor was covered, but like you were saying, that somehow their policy got edited, maybe through Photoshop or something of the like, and so they really didn't have proper coverage. So there's some things that you guys do as an insurance company to be able to truly verify if they had the coverage, right? It's something online that they can go to, right?
Yeah, yep. I think there's something in the state that they can look at, and yeah, it's insurance companies have become wise, and understand that these pieces of paper sometimes aren't always accurate.
Right.
So they have ways of verifying that. One of the things that working with our contractors and customers like yourself, you mentioned the contract that y'all have, but one of the things we request is a 30-day notice of cancellation, 10 days for non-payment. So on the certificate, if they're doing work for you and they get canceled for any reasons, and for non-payment it's 10 days, so they're on the job, you're notified. So that way you can pull them off the job if need be. So again, that's transferring the risk, and those are things that you have done in your contract that you're having signed,
Right.
and the insurance company's honored must obligate those.
Maybe might have touched on this, but if the contractor just disappears or doesn't fix the problem, and I've heard stories of that as well, where there's just some major disaster that happens on the property, and then they can't get a hold of the contractor anymore, right?
Yep.
So maybe they went out of business or that kind of thing. So were you saying that then that ultimately just is going to fall on the policy of the homeowner?
It definitely could on a homeowner, so they could file a claim on their homeowners, and not really knowing the terms of that, but assuming that it was covered, their insurance company would pay, and then they could try to subrogate against the contractor.
Okay.
In this case, the contractor probably doesn't have insurance, may have skipped town, so that may be hard to do.
Okay.
But when I say subrogate, that means they'll try to reach out to the contractor's insurance company, and get payment back.
Okay.
See, when you file a claim on your homeowners, you're subject to deductibles and such.
Yeah.
So, you're going out of pocket, which really you don't want to do if someone else has caused the damage. You want their
Right.
insurance company.
Yeah.
But in some cases, you have to, because, maybe the contractor's insurance lapsed, maybe they skipped town.
Yep.
So if you do that, the insurance company, you'll pay your deductible. The insurance company, assuming that it's covered, would pay the claim. And then the insurance company would go against the contractor and try to recoup their money, because they've paid that. And then if they recoup their money, your deductible, whatever it is paid back as well to you after that. But, that's not an ideal thing really to play out. Really, if someone's causing the damage, if they've got insurance and you've done your due diligence, hopefully their insurance company is going to pay. As a homeowner, when you hire a contractor, to make sure you avoid those.
Right.
That would be asking for insurance for your contractor, dealing with a reputable contractor.
Yeah.
And then you want your homeowner's insurance policy to be your last resort.
All right, Robert. So kind of in closing, are there any maybe questions that I didn't ask you that maybe I should have, or any kind of final thoughts that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've talked more about things from the contractor side today. I think looking from the consumer or the homeowner side that's purchasing homeowners insurance, mainly talking about roofing today, I think there's a lot of trends in our industry that, the consumer is going to see on their insurance policies. There's been a lot of weather-related claims on roofs.
Oh, yeah.
The insurance companies tend to think that some of them are maintenance-related. It may have a hailstorm, after on a 30-year-old roof that should have been replaced 5 years ago.
Yep.
So I think one of the things that you're going to start seeing is significantly higher deductibles, possibly actual cash value policies
Yep.
on roofs that are over 10 years old. So these are changes you need to kind of know and understand from your whoever the trusted advisor on the insurance side that you're dealing with. So talk to them about those things. Understand what your deductibles are. What they could be different for a wind hail storm.
Yeah.
What happens if your roof is damaged and you've got a 20-year-old roof? Is it still replacement costs? These are things sometimes that can be kind of buried, and it's important that you understand that you're not just buying the cheapest policy.
So
the terms may be okay. You just need to understand them.
So let me ask you something. So if the policy were to change, like it got converted to maybe an actual cash value policy, or I don't know, something major changes, their deductible is higher, that kind of thing. Are they notified, or can they just change it without? Maybe they just send them a letter of the change and that's it, or do they actually have to have new signatures?
Yeah, I mean it's something that if you're staying with the same carrier,
Yeah.
just a notification. I mean, they have state notifications they have to, but it could be many, and just you might not know the implications of it.
Yeah, because I get stuff in the mail all the time, so I'm opening up something from, my insurance company, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's just information, trash,
Yes.
It doesn't look like it's a bill, throw it away. And it's not asking me for a signature. So could it be like, hey, that's a change that's happening?
It definitely could be. I mean, but with notifications. So,
okay.
It's important in talking also, when you're getting quotes, because like I said, consumers is wanting to save money on their insurance products. Right. So, you might get a quote and it's less.
Yeah.
Well, you should understand, well, how does this differ from what I currently have?
Right.
And compare it. And it might not be wrong. It could just be different. You need to understand it so you can make an accurate determination. Yeah, I'm willing to save this money, willing to accept a little more risk,
right?
Maybe a higher deductible, maybe ACV, but the savings is really worth it. Or, that savings is really not that much. So you just need to know and understand.
Okay.
And then, so that's kind of one question, I think. And I do have just kind of one statement I would say.
Sure.
I think, I've seen in this business long enough, people do want to save money, and that's understood. But when something happens, they call, and they're not worried about how much money they save. They're worried about if it's covered. So whoever you're dealing with, have a good relationship with them. Whatever you're purchasing, understand what you're purchasing. It's more to it than price. These policies are long books that have a lot of words in them. And it's a contract, so it's going to respond how the contract says. And again, it's hard to know every word in there, but in general, you want to know the things that are going to affect you. Is this going to pay replacement costs? What's my deductible in this case?
Okay.
So have that good advisor that you can call on and get those things from.
Man, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, if someone has any further questions for you, maybe they're listening to this and they're not feeling like they're getting the kind of service that they should get, or if they just want to pick your brain, how can they get in touch with you? Yeah,
would love to talk with anybody about this exciting and complicated product we sell.
All the sexy insurance stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So my email address is rjones, RJONES, at Bearing, BEARING, insurance.com. Or I can be reached by phone, 434-441-4672. And again, that's Robert Jones, 434-441-4672.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks again for coming out today and having a conversation with me and helping, educate our homeowners and, who else might be, whoever else might be listening to this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yep,
I appreciate it. Yes,
Thanks.
sir. Yes.
Right.
We're going to have you on again.
I'd love to come.
All right. Ed, it's a wrap.